Hi everyone, so this video is mainly to talk about straight line graphs and how to work out the gradient and the y-intercept of a straight line. Before I go into that, I'm just going to quickly show you some straight line graphs that you should just know the equations of straight away. So if you look at this line and you don't know the equation, this is just a quick chance now to recap this. So this straight line here goes through -3 on the x-axis, isn't it? So this is the x-axis all the way along here. And all the way along that line, the value of x is -3. So if you picked a coordinate here, for example, it's -3, 3, or if you went down here, it would be -3, -2. So the x coordinate there is always -3. So this line is x equals -3. So basically, whenever it's a vertical line, it will always be x equals something. The next one then is a horizontal line. So this time it's going through -1 here on the y-axis this time. So again, all the way along that line, the value of y, it stays as -1. So this is y equals -1. The next one, we're back to a vertical line. So it's going through 3. So this would just be x equals 3. And I'm just going to do a couple more other lines that you should know. So this one is obviously the same kind of thing. So horizontal is going through 4 in the y-axis, so that is just y equals 4. But the other two that you really should just be able to recognise straight away, and it's not just any diagonal line, it's the one that goes through like 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. So when you think about those coordinates, if I wrote some of those down that I've just said, you can see that the y value and the x value are the same, aren't they? So you just say that y equals x because the two values are the same. The other one that you should know is basically the same line but going the other direction. So it's going through -1, 1, -2, 2, -3, 3 and so on. So if we look at some of the coordinates on this one, you've got 1, -1 down here. You've got 2, -2. So you can see the y value is the same as the x value but the opposite sign, isn't it? So even if you pick one up here, it'd be -2, 2. So this time y equals -x, so that obviously is quite clear from here that it's the same thing as x but with a minus. This one up here, well, it is the same thing. -2 is the same thing as +2, so this is always minus the value of the x. So it's y equals -x, and it goes down that way. So it's kind of easier if you just know those ones off by heart. So horizontal is y equals, vertical is x equals. That way, making sure it goes through 0, 0, 1, 1 is y equals x, and then the final one that goes the other way is y equals -x. Right, the other equations of straight lines are of this kind of form here, where y equals mx plus c. Now it's going to be a little memory trip back to year 8. So y equals mx plus c, you would have looked at this in year 8 a lot, and m is the gradient of the line, which is to do with the steepness. So the bigger the number here, the steeper your line is going to be. And c is the y-intercept. So if you've got a if these are your axes, if you've got a straight line like this, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So this point here would be the y-intercept. Okay, so if it's a positive number, it's going to cross up here somewhere. If it's minus something, it just means it's going to cross down here. So it might look something like that, where it's crossing through a negative value of y. So for each of these equations here, we're just going to look at finding the gradient and the y-intercept. So I'm just going to put yi each time to save a bit of time. So the gradient, you just got to be careful. It's not always the gradient first. It's whatever's in front of the x is your gradient. So this one here, we've got 4 in front of the x, so the gradient is 4. And then that means the intercept is the other number, isn't it? So it's the -3. So we'd cross the y-axis at -3. So the next one, like I say, it's very tempting to say the gradient is 9, but look at what is in front of the x. So the x is here, so the gradient is actually -2, which means the y-intercept is the +9 over there. So just swap the order. Right, this one I've included just because your x is here and it looks like there is no number in front of it, but remember x is the same as 1x, isn't it? So the gradient on this one would be 1. Which means the y-intercept then is the +5. And then the next one, what's in front of the x? It's -1/2. Sorry, I messed that up. So -1/2 of the and then y-intercept is the other number, which is positive 9. Right, so next we're going to do it the other way around. So this time I have got the gradient and the y-intercept, and we've got to put it to make an equation. So I know that the gradient always goes in front of the x, and then we just put the y-intercept on the end. So if the gradient is 4, it's going to be y equals 4x, and then the intercept is positive 2, so therefore I put plus 2 because it's positive. Next one, gradient is 2, so I put y equals 2x, and the y-intercept is minus 5, so I just put minus 5 on the end. Next one, gradient equals 1, so you could put 1x or just x, and then the y-intercept is 3, so plus 3. Last one, gradient is minus 3, so it'd be y equals minus 3x, and then the y-intercept is 4, so I just put positive 4 plus 4 on the end. Right, the last little bit then is probably the new bit. You wouldn't have done this in year 8. So for these ones, you've got to find the gradient and the y-intercept of each of these lines. Now you can see that this line doesn't begin with y equals, so y isn't the subject. So the first thing you've got to do is make y the subject. So it brings in what we have done in year 10. So making y the subject, so you would take away x from both sides to get rid of the plus x. So y equals 5 minus x. So now we can say what the gradient is and the y-intercept. So in front of the x is a minus, there's no number which means it's a 1, so the gradient is minus 1, and the intercept is positive 5. Right, so this one again, if we make y the subject, so I'd have to take away 6, so I'd get 3y equals 2 minus 6, which is actually minus 4. Divide by 3. I've just realised I've messed this question up because there's no x's in there. So actually I'm going to change this question, so sorry. I've changed it, bad planning. So I'm going to make it 6x here. There should have been an x in there. So now it will work, sorry about that. So we're going to take away the 6x, so it'll be 3y. I'm going to do it over here, it's too messy now. 3y equals 2 minus 6x. Now divide by 3. So you get that. So the gradient, you've got to look at what's in front of the x, but just remember that it's over 3, isn't it? So I've got a minus 6, but it's over 3. So the gradient is minus 6 over 3. Can we work that out? Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and it's negative, so it'd be minus 2. The y-intercept is just 2 over 3. So again, it's the 2, but it's over the 3, so therefore it's 2 over 3. Right, next one I've got x's and y, so I haven't messed this one up. So I want to make y the subject, so I go to minus 2x first of all. So I'd get 3y equals 5 minus 2x, and then divide by 3. So you get y equals 5 minus 2x over 3. So with this one then, the gradient would be the minus 2 over 3. And because the minus 2 is in front of the x and it's over the 3, intercept it's 5, but again it's over the 3, so y-intercept would be 5 over 3. Going back to that one that I had messed up, I'm just going to quickly show you, because we ended up with this, didn't we? Y equals minus 4/3. Now, that you should be able to recognize, it's just worth pointing out that that is just y equals something, so that would just be a horizontal line through minus 4/3. It's just that the gradient, there are no x's, so the gradient is 0, which is why it's a flat line. So it's not that it wasn't doable, but it's just, I know that that's not like the questions I've set you, but we can still quickly mention that the gradient is 0, which is why it's a flat line, and it's going through minus 4/3 like that.